Into a charting lesson again, just a refreshed one. Same thing that I did a couple of years ago. I guess it was last summer now. You can go find those. I do have a charting part 1, part 2, part 3. We'll start with small caps, move over to large caps, and go from there. Do some mid caps as well. So the first thing, a lot of traders, we'll just go back to pre-market. Understanding that we're working with the multi-day runner here. CYPH was LPTX the other day. It was a name change, but Thinkorswim's already loaded up the chart for us here, and we can see past chart history. This used to be LPTX, but regardless, first thing you always want to do, typically either go to the daily chart. That's what a lot of traders are going to be using is the 1 year, 1 day. When you work with small cap traders, that's just what's taught. What trade you got to think about who small cap traders are. Every one of them is a retail trader. You don't have hedge funds or any of those people involved in these little tickers. It's all retail traders, 90% of them at least. So you got to think about what's taught into the 90%. Well, we've gone throughout the years. We know what that is. It's usually the 1 year, 1 day. Now, to get a little extra detail, and I always talk this, no matter what it's called the 4-hour time frame. So you can really get a little bit more detail, maybe with after hours, especially here recently. But then a lot of the time there, if it's a play that's been running recently, 5-minute time frame is not bad. 15-minute time frame, which we'll get into with the large cap plays, which I use, isn't bad. Now, this is an ugly ticker, granted, but this is where you want to start using levels if it's been running for 3, 4, 5 days. Which we'll move into, like when you even get to plays like, say, ONDS, which has been moving here recently over the past week plus. You can go to the 15-day, 15-minute time frame and work with it. Let's just go back real quickly to CYPH. And what you're looking for here is first using these levels, understanding that you have this 245, 255 resistance. That should be. That's why I don't like shorting the tops, because sometimes in that first push of the day, volume comes in and we can certainly surge past that. It does seem like when we get there later in the afternoon or morning even, you get a better rejection possibly. So what do you do, right? What's the next step? Well, 4-hour, the yearly, 1 day. The 4-hour really is not going to give you much information because it's been so long since we've even been in this time frame. So I would go to the 1 year, 1 day. Understanding that, again, there's that 250. There's where we got that from. There's where we kind of stopped at that the other day when this first started popping up. Now, over 250, what would be your next area? These floors like this, old support. So then you look at 275. And so over 275, I see another little sandwich here and a lot of consolidation right through this area. So we do have a huge channel here where we have a lot of resistance support right here around the $3 mark. You can see bam, 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 and support through there as well. So that's kind of your midline drop, so to speak, your mid area. When you have uptrend channels, you have trend lines, you have sideways consolidation. Like SPY recently on its uptrend, or even one the other day, I forgot what ticker it was. You'll have a uptrend channel. Essentially you'll have an uptrend channel. Let's just go and show you an example here. You'll have an uptrend that's going like that, right? And it's bouncing on it. And then you'll have a top resistance line. And I always ask traders to put a top resistance line to their uptrend channel. And they always want to go and put in a horizontal line in. Now I'm talking about the vertical line that runs with it. And so you can see it kind of bouncing back and forth, right? In between. And then what you'll have a lot of the time built up in here, we'll just put it about halfway through. I think it's about halfway through. You'll have like this middle one. And so then you'll have this beautiful channel to where it's going up, fails, come down, goes up, breaks through, goes up, bounces on it, goes up, bounces on it, comes back, bounces on it, whatever, and then breaks through, bounces on it, maybe breaks through that time, right? And so you can just kind of trade that channel overall. So pay attention to that, and you want your lines pretty horizontal. It's one thing I do love about trade ideas. I love about Trade the Pool and Thinkorswim. When you put these out, you can't unfortunately hover over it. There may be a way to edit it to where you can see the actual degree. But when you do put these in, as you can see here, it does show you the degree right there. It shows you the degree of angle of what these are at. Typically, you like to see them around the 20 to maybe at most around the 40. You don't want to be putting trend lines in that are up at the 50 and higher. Those channels just don't work as fluidly. Right here where I'm at around that 20, this is perfect. 25, 20 degrees, 30 degrees. 15 is about as low as we get, somewhere around 10 to 15. So I'd say your channel usually for uptrends are usually from 10 degrees that you're going to work consistently are 10 degrees up to around the 40 degree mark. That usually even I'd say about 35 is getting about iffy, 35 to 40. My favorite is, I would say my favorites are 30, probably down to about 15. Those are usually my favorites, 30 to 15 degrees. So that, just remember that little quick little degree of angles, which you guys need to be paying attention to, and how these trend lines, you want to look for very parallel lines on top of the fact you want to look for that mid. And you might even form 2 or 3 in between there besides just the one. So on top of the levels up, so I see a floor here at 275. I see what I call a sandwich. Go look up my sandwich lesson. Support resistance zone, back and forth, flip flocking back and forth at the $3 mark, and then I see some here at the top right around 350. So this is where I would go in and set lines in right about right there-ish. And then what I like to do is just come in for the day and see how well did these work out. Well, pretty fucking money, huh? I don't really remember the chart. I knew the top one was going to work out. I called that out in the live stream here earlier to take this short. And oh, so money my level was. I said I waited all morning for this 350 short. You know, I'll go over to the Discord and say CYPH waited all morning for this short. Called the top. 350. Let's see it. It will be the top. All right. So, beautiful short up top. And again, where's it come back from? Now, look at these other lines we put in. Now, how beautiful is this old resistance line that becomes support here at 310. Now, wasn't true resistance on the way back up for a double top, but look at the bounce play on a line that you could have put in this morning in pre-market while this SOB was running and moving and popping up again, but not giving us much. You could have gone back in time into the 1 year, 1 day and found the bottom support here, found the midline drop, your sandwich, and found your top resistance. So your top bun, your bottom bun, and there's your meat and your love and all the glory inside. There's you a beautiful channel that you can then go trade today, that you could have put those lines in pre-market and then came in today and then traded those lines. Resistance for fails. Bounce plays, back up. Bounce play, breakout, whatever you want to trade. Fail. That's how you put your lines in pre-market. Makes sense? Any questions real quickly? How do you get the trend line to move like that on a pivot point? Mine in TOS doesn't do that, and I have it manually adjusted. Well, once you click on and activate it, see, that's your pivot point. This becomes your pivot point. So all I have to do is just click on it, left click on it, and then I can just, I think this is all good. Does that make sense? So I just left click and it activates it. Now make sure too that you're on, you're on this. I'm on the pointer. I use the pointer. A lot of people use the pan. I use the pointer. I've just got used to the pointer right away. It's what I like to use the most, is the pointer. That makes sense? The pointer. And this is what we would do. So let's just go back to this real quickly. The uptrend channel, I'm going to go back to this and get this in a little bit tighter. So that's how we chart pre-market. Any questions on how you chart pre-market for small cap play? So let's just go over real quickly before we get into market to ONDS. What do we do on this? It's been running recently. Well, ONDS, first off, what? It's moving in this area. So what I typically do is go to a 5-minute time frame and zoom out and go, okay, let me make sure I'm not missing anything. So I'll go to the 15-day, 15-minute and zoom out. And then I start to bring in some 840 corridor. I see some high up here that I know I can really get a good short on. So what I'm doing in pre-market is marking out levels. And so I just come in and zoom in from right here as tight as I can. And I know I'm really good at seeing lines and levels. A lot of people are like, how do you see that all zoomed out? I've been doing this for so long like this. I have really good eyesight too. It helps. So what we do is we come in and start putting lines in where we have a lot of touches, right? I want to see a lot of touches. Boom, 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 right? Touches here even in pre-market. So I'm going through here with my crosshairs, essentially, right? And when I can just do this on Thinkorswim and just try to find boom, 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 right? Boom. Kind of boom, you know, it's kind of choppy through it, but definitely in pre-market, boom, boom. All right, so then I'm just working my way up here, working my way back to you, babe, with a burning love inside. Don't let it get away. Each and every day. There we go. How about that? Y'all like that one, huh? Yeah, no, probably not. That's not great. This is where we start to go at. Because now we start to run into an area that I'm not. So what I'm going to do is cancel that one, come in here to the 1 year, 1 day, and see if I see something sexier, or go back even to the 4 hour, possibly even. That gives me still too much information above these lines, but we'll zoom in here. Yeah, see, there's just not a lot. You have to go all the way back here to 735, so we'll put one in here at 735. This old floor right through here. There's that, and it comes into there. And then what I'm going to do is put one in right there off of this 765 corridor. And then we're going to zoom back in and see what we're doing today. Oh, dang, I didn't get the top, though. I didn't get the top. Didn't really work out anything through here. Didn't work out. This line's just absolutely stupid, and so is this one. You know, what you'd want to do is take this one because, shit, that worked pretty well, though, yesterday and this morning. This even worked out right through there. Hey. These worked out pretty nicely. It's not perfect, but that's kind of now turning into a sandwich. So does this make sense, guys? Both line, anyone else that's out there listening, again, hopefully you are taking this, and I'll post this, probably this weekend, or, even maybe later today for you guys, the people that didn't want to join, or they've moved on, or they're just not here right now. This is what you want to do. Now we're going to move into market charting, but this is what you should do every day in pre-market. If you're trying to find levels, and then those are your levels. Got questions? Makes sense? All right, we're good. So at this point in the day, it's not a painted picture. It's still it's not even lunch yet. Yeah, you're good. You're good. It's not even lunch yet. So you want to leave it in a 1 or a 3. You can go to a 5. I know CR likes the 5. You want to get comfortable in something. To me, I'm good here. Oh, there's where that kind of actually almost worked out. This is just an old trend line up. I'm going to get rid of that line. I know it kind of looks to work out today. That's just an old trend line. So I like the 3, though. It's been moving long enough for me to then just trade the 3. And so what I'd potentially do is add one extra line in. Now, if you want to throw one in at 780, you can. To me, try to stop looking and using so many lines. Let's just say if ONDS ends up running back on up here to 11, 12, right? I really need to go back to the 4 hour. So we start moving back here. Do you want to leave these lines in? I would say only leave the lines in if we stay here and we fail. So build lines up on the way up so you know which lines to trade on the way down. But if we break this and go, say, to 52 Ikai, which I think that will be that, yeah, and this will be probably, just one of those extra plays. You're like, damn, I wish I would have got in this forever ago, and it's at 30 or 40, right? And we were looking at it anyway. Get rid of the lines. You need to be able to stop leaving so many lines in and leave them behind. That's kind of a saying I could have. Learn to leaving lines in, but learn to leave them behind. So leave them in till, we start breaking, and we get up to here, and then leave them all. And then you got lines to trade. This can be something you can go back to, like Bothy or other traders, even the king line traders that need that extra confidence. And I can go back and trade this ticker because I know it, and I know these levels, and they're really working. You're in your early still ages of your trading journey, so you're not that super successful. And I know I just got this, and the confidence still does need to grow. The patience and the discipline still needs to grow. This is where this comes into play. So the point being, a quick snippet to this would be, once it breaks through this and it rolls through 12 and you're above 12 and now you're at 14, you're at 18, you don't need these lines in anymore. You probably won't see them, and if you do, it won't be for a very long time. And at that point, I don't know what traders are going to use some of those intermittent lines. They will not be used. Few of them will be. All right? Does that make sense? Learn to leave them in, and then learn at some point that you've got to leave them, just get rid of them. So whatever, say if we fail here, come back on down, and now we're floating around at 1 or 2. It's 3 months, 4 months from now, and we're down here, and we're just, get rid of them. Get rid of them. It's kind of the same aspect there. Now, back to end market. The only other thing that you're going to start adding would be downtrends and trend lines. So you need to start coming in here, and this is where I like using the 1 minute time frame to get accurate upon where I need to have my trend lines at, right? So I'm going to come in here and go boom, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go boom, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to go boom. Stop fucking trying to start shit from... Stop doing this. Stop. This doesn't work. No traders are doing this that are successful. There's a trend line. There's a trend line. There's a trend line. Stop. 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 If you're doing that, stop. Stop. Okay? It's not the true trend, right? Because I can't come in here and find a top uptrend channel to match it, right? Because here's my point. Here's the true uptrend. If we were going to put anything in here, would have been this little weird little head and shoulders, and then you would have started here and went up through there. Because then you could have a resistance line right there with shoulder to shoulders, right? Leave the head out of it. But then you could have like a little true uptrend right here. The point is, when I find these uptrends, and we'll go cancel left extension, leave that in, cancel right extension. Oh, no, not left, but and right. Yeah, sure, whatever. Anyway, whatever. So when I come in here, what am I looking at? If this is the uptrend, this is the first uptrend that I really notice overall that's really starting to take shape. Here's why. I'm going to come in, I'm going to say it's about right here off this upper shadow. I'm going to form a parallel uptrend. We create a new overextended uptrend from the downtrend break. I'm going to start it off this upper shadow. Watch how perfect this is. Now, I don't know. I wish I would have looked at the degree of angle here. I think even if you activate it, it's not going to give us the angle anymore. But still, we'll just duplicate it, and I'll put one in here. This one is right at about 30.5. The resistance is 30. You know, it's close. It's kind of caving in a tad. But do you see how parallel the lines are there? Does this make sense now? Do you see what I'm saying? See how parallel? These are like fucking this, almost the same thing. And so this is where you want to come in and start doing that and finding those, and you can still trade in the 3-minute time frame. Now for candlestick confirmation, when these trends start working again, it's the best entries you're going to get for candlestick confirmations. One, if you're trading trend cracks, trend breaks, it's the 1-minute time frame. So this is where you would put line. Now you want to delete lines, right? So you don't need this downtrend line anymore. You don't need that uptrend. Or not. What you do want to leave in is this old uptrend. Why? A, it's the longest. It's got the most touches. Not even close. Fail, bounce, bounce, touch. You know, so that's what it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A lot there at 5. A lot at 6. I won't count 7, although I want to, but 7, 8, 9, 10. We'll call that even 11 because that did pop up. 12, 13, 14, right? That's a lot of touches. Most than any other trend today. And oh, damn, it just hit my eyes. Look at this. Right about right there. Look at that uptrend channel. And there's that little midline drop. There's that mid area that I talked about. Right? So that would be the lines that you trade there. This would be the lines. Right here. Does this make sense? Right? So you're going to see if we can reclaim this channel. If we do, now you know what lines we're going to trade. So you've got bounce areas, resistance areas. That's how you chart intraday. Right there on ONDS. Now real quickly back over to CYPH because it is moving a little bit more technically sound. Same thing. You're going to come in here and maybe add some extra lines. Old resistance equals new support. Boom, right? That would probably be about the only other line I add in for the day. Honestly, right there, that little sandwich area. A little touch to touch, wick to wick as I call it. And then you're going to come in here, like I just said, in the 1-minute time frame and find your uptrend channels. Because what you're going to see here is this a lot of the time. And we're going to see if maybe back over to ONDS if we don't do the same thing here. And if we don't come up and fail at the bottom, the old trend line up. I talk about this all the time. Old support becomes what? New resistance. So you go back over here to CYPH, see how we come up, and that becomes a double whammy area for a great short. Not only we found it on past chart history, but now we have that old uptrend too that's going to knock us back down. That says, oh, no, 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 no. You don't have that much bullish power. Not quite yet anyway. And then you're finding parallel trends usually a lot of the time in technical sound trade setups, tickers. It's not the exact same angle, but boy, oh, look how that one almost matched this. And then look, you're on a new one that's also pretty darn similar, right? That needs to be a little bit down, right about right there. But you get my point. Those are all almost the same angle, or very close. Remember these things, guys. You got to start. This is it. This is all you would do. This is the only lines you would have in here